welcome to another video art lesson. My name is Allie. I'm the art teacher at Wildwood, and today I'm going to be sharing with you how to create this recycled cardboard mosaic or an advanced collage. If you're looking for a beginner collage that does not use paint or scissors, you can click the link in the description below, or you can click the previous video on this playlist. There are many reasons I love collage. First of all, you can use whatever you have on hand to make a beautiful work of art. Second of all, you can adapt this project to whatever your needs are. Today I decided to use some thicker paper and also show you a painted paper technique so you can really customize your collage in so many different ways. I chose to make it abstract design, but you can create a picture of pretty much anything once you have your pieces all cut out. So what we're going to do is I'm going to switch camera angles and we can go through our supplies and then get into our project. Okay, so we're going to do this project in a couple of phases. This first phase is to paint our collage pieces. For this, you can use any sort of thin cardboard that you cut from a cereal box or something like that. I'm using a seltzer box and I just cut it up into smaller pieces. You want to make sure you're being careful doing that. If you need help, make sure you ask an adult to do it safely. You need a paintbrush, some paint. I'm using acrylic paint here, but you can use tempera, water, paper towel. And I also want to make sure, since I'm using paint, I want to have a piece of scrap paper down on my work surface. So again, I'm using acrylic paint. You can use really any kind of paint you want. My acrylic paint is a little bit thick. If you have acrylic paint from a tube like this, I recommend thinning it with some water. But you don't want to put too much water in there just because it will soak through your cardboard. A couple things I didn't say: make sure you're using the untreated side, the unprinted side. Since most cardboard boxes, thin cardboard boxes like this, have just the natural brown color paper, you want to use something like acrylic or tempera paint to paint your pieces, because watercolor isn't so transparent. The brown color will show through. If you don't have any acrylic paint, tempera paint again will work just fine, or any sort of craft paint. So I'm just going to fill in. Really, there's no wrong way to do this. You can just fill in each piece with color and try to get all the way out to the edges. Okay, there's my first color, and you want to make sure you are using at least 3 colors, just because you want to make sure that your collage pieces have some nice variety. Otherwise, it's all going to look the same. So at least 3 colors. You can obviously use more if you'd like. Just rinsing my brush off here. And I'm just going to go through the rainbow. So I don't have any orange paint actually, so I'm going to mix with red and yellow. Again, thin with water if you need to. Again, if you're using acrylic paint, mine is just actually a little old. These colors, I haven't used them in a while. If you are using a more translucent paint, like even watercolor, if you do have white paint, if you mix a little bit of the white paint in with your colors, it will brighten them up. So your cardboard isn't peeking through too much. So again, try to get all the way out to the edges. Actually, if you don't get all the way out to like cover each tiny little section, it is totally fine because you're going to cut these up anyway. All right, so rinse my brush. I think I need some more yellow. So I'm going to replenish my palette a little bit and keep going through my colors. Now, yellow is a really good example of a color that sometimes you will need to add some white to it, just because it may not cover up that brown. It's not too bad, but the white will make it a little bit lighter. You'll notice I don't have any black on my palette, just because personally I think, especially if you're working with children, it seems to be really tempting just to mix that black in there too much, and it makes your colors a little bit muddy if you put black in there, unless you want really dark colors, which is fine, but if you want nice bright colors, you want to stay away from the black paint. All right, so I'm just going to keep moving through each color. Make sure you're rinsing your brush off in between. And blue. And don't have any purple, so I'm just going to mix some blue and magenta to make my purple. All right, so now all of my pieces are finished, and I'm just going to get set up to paint my background. So this next phase that we are going to do is our background. I have my paints and my brush. And for my background, I'm actually just going to use a recycled piece of thicker cardboard, which in this case is just the back of an old sketchbook. But you can use, just because I had it on hand and it was a little bit bigger than what I could find in a cereal box, but the broad side of a cereal box would also work for this. You can use any sort of brush strokes that you want. I'm just going to trace them with water. I am going to use some brush strokes that kind of look like little X's, but you can go back and forth. You can go up and down. You can do circles. You can do little dashes. Any way you paint, any way you want for this. Just be aware you're not going to see a lot of it. Again, I'm going to do my little diagonal kind of X brush strokes here. And start with white. Start working in some colors. And again, I like this sort of abstract way of working just because for collage and a space that you're going to cover up, you don't want to work too hard painting like an actual picture. Otherwise, you're going to do a whole lot of hard work and not be able to see most of it. So I'm just going to fill in this space with color. And I want these colors to be nice and bright again, so they kind of pop through my pieces when I put them down. So I'm just going to keep working from the middle. Make sure you rinse out your brushes between each color. So I'm just going to start filling in. I'm doing warm colors in the middle and then working in my cool colors around the edges. Warm colors are red, orange, and yellow. Cool colors are green, blue, and purple. So I'm just going to keep working. Again, make sure your colors are nice and bright. To do that, make sure your brush is rinsed between each new color. You can let your colors mix a little bit on your board though. Alright, and with that, I think we are about finished and ready to start our collage. Okay, so our next phase of this project is to cut up our collage pieces. So all of my painted cardboard is dry. I'm going to take my scissors. Make sure you're using your scissors safely, and you can get started cutting. Be careful when you're cutting like this. I find I tend to rush a little bit, and especially if I'm trying to make smaller pieces, make sure you're going nice and slow, taking your time so you don't accidentally hurt yourself. And you want your pieces to, well, you can make your pieces however, whatever size you want. I am going to make some big pieces, some small pieces. And make sure I have a good variety of each. And this cardboard is really pretty easy to cut through. It's just like cutting thicker cardstock. If you want to use thinner paper for this, I should have said this earlier, if you want to use thinner paper for this, that's totally fine. This kind of paper, this kind of cardboard rather, just makes for, I think, just a sturdier finished piece. But again, if your student is working on cutting as a new skill or a developing skill, please feel free to use thinner paper that will definitely be easier to cut. Again, this isn't too hard. This again feels just kind of like cutting cardstock, but it is a little tougher than just normal computer paper. So I'm going to keep cutting. And I have this little plate here that I bought a long time ago to use as a paint palette that I don't use very often, but it's perfect for sorting little mosaic tiles here. So keep cutting. Again, make sure you're cutting a mixture of big and small pieces. Make sure you're not cutting your pieces too small. Well, again, if you want your collage to go a little bit quicker, you want your pieces to be bigger. If you are wanting to put a little bit more time, you can make your pieces a little smaller. Here's my last one. And we are ready to make our mosaic. All right, so I know it's been a lot of steps. We painted 2 times, we cut, and now it is time to put our mosaic together. I have my background, I have my mosaic I'm gonna call them mosaic tiles from now on, because that's what we would call them if we were using stone or shells or something like that. My very last thing I need is just some glue. I'm using Elmer's glue, diluted with a little bit of water, mixed with a little bit of water. And just a brush that I don't care about getting glue on it. I'm gonna mix it around. And it's about, I would say, 2 parts glue, 1 part water. So then I'm just gonna spread my glue all over my paper or my background. I didn't do this here. I would go in sections. I did try to cover up this whole background first before I started collaging. I would recommend doing at least just half or even just a quarter of your background first, just because your glue, especially around the edges or the parts you're not collaging on right away, are going to dry up pretty quick. So again, liquid glue, liquid Elmer's glue is the best for this. A glue stick, especially if you're using thicker paper, is not going to hold the pieces down. Okay, so I'm just going to start putting my pieces wherever. I'm starting in the middle for this one. From the last collage project I did in the last video, I started at the top. This one I'm going to start in the middle. Make sure all your pieces are sticking down. You can always use more glue if you want, or if you need. And this part involves a lot of thinking. I'm just going to sort out some of my pieces here. I don't think you can see me doing it though. So just a couple of pointers. When I collage, I like to kind of just start somewhere and see where my imagination takes me. But if you are more of a planner, you can draw out a design first and then fill in your pieces. Something else to keep in mind, the size of your mosaic tiles are not set in stone, so if you need to cut down and make some smaller pieces, you can go right ahead. I do like to leave some space between my tiles and kind of just fit them really close together so I can see my background. I did really like the colors of my background, so I want to make sure I see them. So I'm just going to keep working my way out from the middle, and I'm working in a very abstract way just because right now that is kind of what's working for me. I'm working on a lot of projects with a lot of structure, so making abstract art is helpful, and it kind of just lets me experiment with different shapes and different colors, and lets me just kind of be myself. Which is kind of the whole point of this, right? So I'm gonna keep working. I am gonna go through, just for consistency, kind of just go through my spectrum again. So I started with my warm colors in the middle, and I'm moving out toward cool colors around the outside. So as I said, I'm working sort of abstractly here, but if you want to make a more structured picture, like a flower or a fish, I know we made a fish last week, or any sort of shapes, work with some shapes to fill in with your smaller shapes, you can do that. I'm just going to keep working and just see how my pieces all fit together. Getting out toward the edges here. And so yes, I'm having to reapply my glue as I get out toward the edges, just because it did dry up a little bit as I was going. So that is pretty much it. Do my last little couple finishing touches here, and there we go. I have my mosaic. Yay! And that, my friends, is a recycled cardboard mosaic. I hope everyone had so much fun making this with me today. I know I had fun making it myself. I'd love to see your version of this project. Please feel free to email me. My email address is down in the video description. Also there you can find this PDF that you can use to follow along through the video. And that's pretty much it for today. I hope everyone is staying healthy. Stay strong. I miss you all so, so much. I can't wait until we're back in the art room creating together again. Have a great week, and I will see you next time. Bye!